Hi guys, this is Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. I want to presentate to you my illustration book about the second coming of Jesus Christ. In it you're going to find the illustration book slides, and you're going to have me voicing over in the form of narration. So I hope you have great revelations from this presentation. God bless you all. Amen. So this chapter is about the last 3.5 years of the tribulation and of the end of the age. And this will be the kingdom of the false Messiah and of the false prophet. The Illuminati plan for a world population at the time of the Antichrist coming of 0.5 billion, which is 500 million. Okay, I thought, why was this? And actually, the world population in Jesus' time would have been 0.5 billion, 500 million. And in fact, the population hasn't really sped up so much until even in the last couple of 100 years. It's been at that kind of level. It's only in the last 100 years that it's really blew up to billions and billions of people. And so the Romans will overthrow Israel and the temple. Revelation 11. But the temple will be rebuilt. At the first coming, they had the second temple, and in the second coming of Jesus Christ, they're going to have the third temple. And Revelation says it, measure the temple of God and the altar, and them that worship therein. And here comes the ownership. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it's given unto the Gentiles, like the Romans. So the outer court, the Temple Mount itself, will be owned by probably Rome, I would say. But then the temple itself, they'll give it over to the Jews and say, look, now you've got your temple. All right. And then when it comes to it, after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. Now in the first coming of Jesus Christ, he was cut off because of himself. He said, I am the Son of God. And they was like, blasphemy. And so when he's cut off in the second coming, it's because of they want to put the Antichrist up as a deception for the world first. So you have the king of the north, the Roman Empire, the king of the south, the Israeli Jewish Empire. Like these kings here, so you have Prince William, and he's wearing his appropriate tie for his kingdom, and you have Benjamin Netanyahu wearing a blue tie as appropriate for his kingdom. So these are the king of the north and the king of the south. So you have the king of the north in red, scarlet, which is the Roman Empire, the Roman Church, the British Empire, the NATO, EU, who they control. Then you have the king of the north in blue, which is the kingdom of Israel, the king of the Jews. That's in Daniel 11. And when you shall see Jerusalem encompassed with armies, you know that its desolation is near. So when you see United Nations and that going in and surrounding Jerusalem, you know that its desolation is near. And then history is going to repeat itself, just like the first coming, where Rome came and destroyed the second temple and the Jerusalem, and it took them 3.5 years. Now when the second coming, the third temple is going to be there. The Roman Empire, United Nations, EU are going to come. The people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Revelation 11 says that, and the holy city they shall tread underfoot for 42 months. So even in the time of weapons of mass destruction, in our time, it's still going to take them, it says in Revelation 11, 42 months, which is 3.5 years to destroy Jerusalem. I guess they maybe be doing it by hand. So Revelation 12. And it says they'll go and take away the daily sacrifice from the temple. And it says then that there shall be 1,290 days until the end. But blessed is the one, Jesus Christ, who has waited and comes at the 1,335 days, which is 45 days later. And they shall place the abomination that makes desolate, which is the Roman fasces. The Roman fasces means declares martial law. So if he presents it, places it in the Temple Mount on there, it's like meaning martial law over the whole earth. And it gives him authority to kill his own people. So when people don't take the RFID chip or don't worship an image of him in church or don't do as he say, even if they are Roman or British or whatever, he'll be able to just kill them, like it says. But the fasces will be placed in the temple next to the throne, like this engraven images from somewhere in America. We see a guy sitting on a throne, like angels around him, and these two fasces on either side of the throne. This is the abomination that makes desolations. And when you see the abomination desolation, Jesus says, flee into the wilderness. Okay, this is exactly like Revelation 12 when it says the woman will flee into a place where she, in the wilderness, where she is going to be took care of for 1,260 days, which is 3.5 years. That's exactly like what happened with Mary. They fled into the wilderness of Egypt from Pharaoh, who was the Satan of that time, for 3.5 years. When the abomination and desolation set up in the temple, the Jews are going to have to flee from Israel, away from the face of the dragon, Barack Obama, Satan incarnated, for 3.5 years. Revelation 13. And then the lawless one shall come, the Antichrist, and with all workings of Satan, Barack Obama, with all power, signs and lying wonders to make him look like the real Messiah. And then it says the beast, it describes it in Revelation and Daniel. It describes it. Revelation says that he is like unto a leopard, climbing upwards. Lions do not climb unless their life depends on it. And you can see it clearly looks like a leopard climbing a tree. Revelation says he has a face of a lion, which the coat of arms do. Revelation also says he has feet of a bear, which the coat of arms do. Daniel says he has nails of brass, and when you look at the coat of arms, they do. They're red, not the colour of lions, and has iron teeth. And on the coat of arms, the beast has his mouth open so you can see his teeth, and they're not red like brass, they are white like iron. So the coat of arms is of William is the beast that's described in Daniel and Revelation. And so the beast has 7 heads. All right, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. Now, to understand this, what you've got to picture is John, okay, about 90 AD-ish, giving the book of Revelation. This angel's telling him this, but what you got to realize, he's talking in the present tense to him. All right, so 5 have fallen: Galba, Ophio, Viteletius, Vespasian, and Titus, and they destroyed the second temple. All right, and then they went after the Christians and the Jews to kill them all. 1 is Domitian. He was the ruler of Rome when the book of Revelation was given to John. All right, the other has not yet come, and literally the end of the Flavian dynasty was kind of like the end of this prophecy until the time of the end. All right, but when he does come, the 7th king, he must remain a little while as a king. So seal 1, he becomes king. He's going to remain as king a little while. They're going to build the temple, but when the temple is built and he's falsely resurrected from the dead, he becomes the 8th king. He's part of the 7, he's the same body, but the spirit of the Antichrist is in him. He becomes the 8th king, the Antichrist. He rises from the dead, he has a head wound, he's blind in one eye, he claims to be God, he claims to be Christ, and he demands to be worshipped by the world. Because he's come back from the dead, but it says that he will be blind in one eye. In Zechariah 11 it says the sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye, and his right eye shall be utterly blinded. And it says about his arm as well is withered. Now in the Islam prophecies, when they talk about the El-Masih Dajjal, they say he'll be blind in one eye as well. It would be like a bulging grape. Now, interestingly enough, because like Revelation talks about the Antichrist coming back from a deadly head wound, not crucified, but a deadly head wound. All right, and I took this image out of this Xbox 360 game, The Dark Messiah and the Might of Magic, and literally it matches William's face, the image I managed to pick to do one of the other slides, but he has a head wound and he's blind in one eye. And it says that the beast will be given 10 horns, but the dragon has them 10 horns first. So Barack Obama will have this 10 horn alliance of kings, and he will give the beast, the Antichrist, his 10 horns, his great power, great authority. And so William will then have them 10 world leaders under him. But then Daniel says that he will subdue, which means like bring down, not kill as much, but bring down. He will subdue 3 of them kings, and these kings anyway will go to war at Armageddon against Jesus Christ, and they will also take down Rome in the end of the age. And the Denver airport murals, you'll see a little blonde-headed guy bringing peace to the earth and destroying their weapons and everything else. It is literally taken from like a portrait of him when he was younger. Prince William, the little horn that comes up among the 10 horns. And you shall sit in the temple of God, claiming to be God. But this has a double meaning, all right? 2 Thessalonians 2. He, as God, sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Okay, so you have a bricks and mortar temple. We know it's going to be rebuilt because there's loads of scripture about it. So you not just sit on the throne in the temple claiming to be God, but it actually means something else, is that the spirit of the Antichrist will sit in the cloned human vessel of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ's body was the temple. Okay, they made a clone of it. The spirit of the Antichrist will sit in that temple, the cloned body of Jesus, and claim himself to be God. It's a bit like a double meaning to it. This chapter is about the false prophet, which is the last Pope Francis. So he is the last Pope Francis according to the Malachi's prophecy, accurate prophecy. It said that Peter the Roman, because he's a clone of Peter the Jew, Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep, not ours, in many tribulations. And when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills, which is Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge, God, will judge his people, the end. So this is the last Pope Francis, what we're on now. And his coat of arms actually worships false gods of Egypt. IHS, which is also the Jesuit secret society, now they worship Isis again. I mentioned before that she is the fake Virgin Mary, like Diana was to the Illuminati. She gives birth to Horus, which is the false Messiah, firstborn to the Virgin Isis, who is the fake Christ, and Seth being like the husband type figure. But really, Satan was the one who created Horus from Isis. But they give homage anyway to these fake Egyptian gods. So what sort of Pope is this? What sort of Roman Christian is this? None. And so he will do great wonders, it says, like making fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men, to deceive them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. To be able to bring fire down from heaven, the Bible says. So you could say, well, if this is the real Christ, oh, I pray to God, let fire come down from heaven, and then psh, like a lightning beam is going to come down from heaven. And if you look at the movie Under Siege 2, you'll see they're using a satellite to do this. Alright, and yeah, it might be a movie, but then there's been suspicious things we've seen before, like on the left side of the picture, where people have said, oh, a meteorite come down, but when you slow it down, you don't actually see a meteorite, you see a solid beam of light coming down from space and like literally destroys, makes fire and everything else. So I believe that they've got the technology, that they've got satellites that they can, and remember, they don't tell, they keep confidential some of the launches they do. I believe there's satellites out there capable of beaming down these energy rays, ready for this time. So that, you know, the satellite passes over and he says, bring down fire, and it comes, and everyone's like, whoa, deceived. And they should make an image, engraven image of the beast, and he had power to give life to the beast, that it would both speak, and whoever would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So an engraven image is a three-dimensional. Two-dimensional is a flat surface like a picture. It's not an idol, it's two-dimensional. An engraven image is a three-dimensional object, like a statue, like in the Roman Church. But in the end of the age, this will both speak. That's because what they're going to do is set up holograms in all the churches. And when William speaks in Jerusalem from the temple and say, I'm your God and worship me and whatever, it's going to be live stream to all these churches, and they're going to have live holograms of him in church, and everyone must bow down and worship him. All right. They may even have these things coming out their phone now, the way technology is going, and with Metasphere and all this stuff going on. You know, it could well be coming out, the hologram might even just come out your phone and you worship him at home or something. So this is the image of the beast, a hologram. And then he causes everyone to receive a mark, an RFID chip in their right hand or in their foreheads, that they cannot buy or sell unless you have the mark or the name of the beast, William V, or the number of his name, 666. So this mark will be a banking chip. After the crash and after the wars and everything, the money market will literally be cashless, total electronic, and the only way you'll be able to access it is from an RFID chip, which will have to be implanted in your hand. This is the way it's going. It's been planned for many, it was planned before 9/11 even happened, and this is the way it's going to be. So don't take the RFID chip. The Antichrist William has already received his RFID chip when he was 12 years old, which is the age of accountability. He was given a microchip when he visited a university in America, which is really is Satan's way of condemning him for his whole life. Because at the age of 12, and then he becomes accountable for sin, he gets RFID chipped, he's condemned to the lake of fire forever. And then here is wisdom: count the number of the beast, number of a man. And if you look at William V in Roman numerals, you can break it down and you can come up with I am VI, which in fact is I am 666. So we have a summary of the events of the last 3.5 years. So you have the Romans destroy Jerusalem for 42 months. You have the woman Israel flees away into the wilderness from Israel in a place for 1,260 days, a time, times and half a time. You have the two witnesses who have been preaching. They bring plagues like Moses and Elijah. They're killed, they ascend to heaven on a cloud, and they prophesied for 1,260 days. The Antichrist comes and he claims to be God and be Christ for 42 months, persecutes believers, wants to change times and laws for a time, times and half a time, which is 3.5 years. And the abomination of desolation is set up in the temple for 1,290 days. And then when the burnt offering is taken away in the middle of 7 years, then comes the time at the end, which is 3.5 years. And then it says, blessed is he that waits and comes at the 1,335 days. So 45 days after 1,290 days of the burnt offerings being taken away, Jesus Christ will return at Armageddon. And Jesus will come down just as he went up. Okay? And according to Daniel's prophecy as well. Jesus crucified on the preparation day, late, a couple of hours even before sundown, and the second day started. And he was dead for 3.5 days, which actually brings us into 5 days. He then proceeded to stay with the apostles for 40 days. He then ascended into heaven on a cloud. And the angel says, this Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven in a cloud shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. Now, are they talking about the same time or just in like manner? Who knows? But the timings are there, because Daniel says there'll be 1,290 days until the end, or let's say the preparation day of the second passing of the throne. Alright, but blessed is he who waits and comes at the 1,335 days, meaning the return, the descending Jesus, which is 45 days, which is just exactly like the crucifixion. 5 days dead until he rose, 40 days, 45 days. So Daniel 12:11, adding 45 days onto it, 45 days after the second passing of the throne, equals Daniel 12:12, where Jesus shall descend, and Acts 1, in like manner in which you have seen him go in to heaven. And here's just another summary of the events that we talked about. So you have the 70 weeks of Daniel, 490 years. But we've already passed since 1537, 483 years ago, since the Jerusalem wall was rebuilt, and now the city has been rebuilt. So we have 1 week left of 7 years, which will be the 7-year agreement. So when the seals have happened, just before the 6th seal, the 7-year agreement will happen. Then comes all the trumpet judgments and all that. And then you're going to have the 2 witnesses who will come and prophesy for 1,260 days. And the daily sacrifice will be taken away for 1,290 days. But blessed is the one who comes at 1,335 days, 45 days later at Armageddon. The woman shall flee from Israel into the wilderness when they see the abomination of desolation for 1,260 days, times and half a time, 3.5 years. And then the Antichrist claims to be God for 42 months. The saints are given into his hand for a time, times and half a time. The scattering of the holy people happens for a time, times and half a time. And they are all 3.5 years. RFID chip, mark of the beast, image of the beast, or be killed. False prophet bringing down fire from heaven. And so, you also have the 2,300 days of the temple being dirty, which is 6 years and 3.5 months. So that is a long timeline prophecy, and we may see it in our time, we may see it at the start of the tribulation, or just after the first passing of the throne happens. And so these prophecy timelines are put in some sort of order so you can see them. So you have the 2,300 days that the temple is dirty and cleaned at Jesus' return. So 6 years and 3.5 months. Say we go from Passover, so you go from Passover all the way back to 6 years on, and maybe to the time of February time. And then we have the 7-year agreement, which happens just before the 6th seal. So the 7-year agreement is made, but in the middle of the 7 years, or among the 7 years, the daily sacrifice and the oblations shall be taken away. After that 7-year agreement's made, the throne of God hits at the 6th seal. The trumpets begin. One of the trumpets, trumpet number 5, the locusts that come out the bottomless pit, Yellowstone, and torment people with a sting who have not the 144,000. They do that for 5 months. Trumpet number 6, nuclear war. That goes on for 13 months. So together them two is 1.5 years. And in the time of the end, the daily sacrifice will be taken away for 1,290 days until the end. The 2 witnesses shall prophesy for 1,260 days. Jerusalem shall be destroyed for 42 months by the Romans. Israel shall then flee when they see the abomination and desolation in the holy place and from the face of the dragon Obama, and they shall be in their place in the wilderness for 1,260 days. The Antichrist shall rule over the world and from Jerusalem and for 42 months. And then blessed is he who comes at the 1,335 days, which is 45 days after the 1,290 days of the daily sacrifice being taken away. And so Jesus Christ will return 45 days later at the battle at Armageddon. I've been Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. God bless you all for watching this presentation. I hope you had great revelations from it. Please don't hesitate to give me a contact if you have any questions or queries. God bless you all. Please share this around because the time is short.